Blessings, divine reflection. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Idalis and I make videos about deep esoteric topics and give you the practical tools to help you along your spiritual journey. I personally really enjoy the integration between spirituality and mental health, so I'm really excited for today's topic as well. Today's video is going to be all about the shadow. I'm going to get into what the shadow is, how the shadow is formed, what shadow work is, and how we can, and then I'm going to give you practical tools to actively implement shadow work into your life. I'm so excited. I hope you are too. If you're interested in learning how to take back control over your life and to heal from past wounding, you've come to the right place. So the term shadow is connected to psychological analysis and was popularized by Carl Jung. He described the shadow, or id, as he also called it, as parts of ourselves that have yet to be integrated. By definition, the shadow can represent aspects of ourselves that are of a sad or oppressive nature. From a mystical standpoint, we can view the shadow as parts of our unconscious that have yet to be brought into the light, fully brought to our awareness and our consciousness. So the shadow, or id, can look like denial, suppression, and a weak self-concept. This can lead to shunning or judging the way we feel, or acting out of a place of toxicity and taking part in self-destructive behaviors, right? Unfortunately, for so many of us, the shadow is formed due to early childhood abuse and neglect, and as a result, deep wounding. Although severe mental and emotional distress, i.e. trauma, can occur at any age. I've laid out a couple of different ways that trauma can manifest itself, just so that we're all aware of the nuances of what trauma actually is. So with abuse, this can be physical, sexual, mental, or emotional. It can look like name calling. It can look like being made to feel small or unimportant, being talked down to. It can look like the denial of your reality, i.e. gaslighting, people not taking responsibility for the way they make you feel, making it your fault for the way they made you feel is a big one. Abuse can also look like being controlled or manipulated into doing things or not doing things that you would normally do or not do, either by force or withholding things like love or resources, and is why the parent-child dynamic can be quite fragile and can be dangerous if a parent has their own shadows that need to be dealt with. And then of course, abuse can also look like physical assault. By no means should anyone ever put their hands on you in any way that is harmful or hurtful or uncomfortable. So with neglect, this can look like physical abandonment, which can cause feelings of a void in a person's life, and they'll often want to fill this void maybe with the wrong things, the wrong people, right? But neglect can also be emotional. There's emotional abandonment where the parent is physically there but may not be attuned to our needs, attuned to our desires, our experiences, the way we think and view the world. This can cause us to feel misunderstood, not fully seen, and not fully valued for who we are, and will also cause a void within us. So even though our physical needs are met, we still feel this emptiness inside of us, which can be just as insidious as, obviously a parent just like completely abandoning their child physically. This feeling of void can lead us to want to create connection so bad. Creating that connection then becomes our primary need, right? Which is how, relationships become so toxic. Or we completely cut ourselves off from needing that, or pretend like we can cut ourselves off from needing connection at all because we never learned what a healthy connection looks like. So neglect can also result in disconnection from our own emotions, which can lead to disassociation, which can lead to depression, which can lead to mania and even personality disorders, right? We learn to separate from ourselves, or we learn to deny our emotions, or because the feeling of loss that we have due to this severance of connection that we feel is so deep that we create all of these ways in our mind to escape that feeling. This suppression and denial of our emotions can lead to addictions and other self-destructive habits. Learning to become our own parent, learning to reparent, learning to be what was lost is a part of that shadow work. Developing a poor self-concept due to abuse, neglect, or past wounding is also a form of trauma. A strong self-concept or a strong sense of self looks like being valued for who you are, regardless of any outside influence or external validation. Having a strong self-concept is about valuing who you are, creating value in your life, and increasing your sense of accomplishment or learning new experiences, and maybe even helping others, right? These are all things that create a sense that we are valued and have a place in the world. A poor self-concept comes from not being celebrated enough for being who we are. Maybe you had a very high set of standards in your households that, you had to meet, which meant to be who you are wasn't good enough, essentially. Or maybe you were told that to be who you are just wasn't okay, for whatever reason. Not being accepted for who you are results in a deep set wound of shame and can also create a severe inner critic, harsh self-judgment, and maybe even self-harm. Feeling insecure and feeling not good enough is only exacerbated by societal pressures and is even more prevalent amongst people who are systemically oppressed by race, class, gender, sex, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. So those were kind of the main sections of ways in which I thought trauma could be broken down, but there are probably more that I haven't touched on. I just wanted to create a basic kind of container of different ways that trauma can manifest itself. I'm speaking from my own experiences dealing with trauma and healing from it, and also from reading the works of licensed counselors and psychiatrists and digesting their work. I've been learning a lot along my own, mental health journey, and so that's where I'm speaking from. Okay, how can we overcome the shadow? How can we heal from our past wounding, become a lighter, happier version of ourselves? The first thing I listed was setting boundaries. Now, this is, I think, of kind of an expert level technique, okay? It requires fortitude, it requires constant determination, and a strong sense of self. But in setting boundaries from people who hurt you consistently, who don't make you feel good, who don't have your best interest in mind, who are using you, and who do not value you as a person, is in the long run going to be beneficial for you. And in setting boundaries, it gives you the space to love up on yourself even more and to connect to who who you truly are and to connect to your intuition, to connect to your inner core, to remember how powerful you are, and to recognize that you can protect yourself. It's a form of self-protection, it's a form of self-love. So setting boundaries is my number one tip. My second tip that I listed was meditation, which of course is a great way to go within, to go inward, and is important for lowering cortisol levels in the brain, which is a hormone that is connected to stress levels, right? A lot of us are operating at a beta level frequency of consciousness. And meditation is an alpha state, right? And deep meditation is theta state, right? And that's kind of, I think, what we're all kind of striving for. That's what I'm striving for, man. I'm striving for that deep meditation. But, you know, we're trying to lower our brainwave frequency. We're trying to lower our anxiety levels. We're trying to lower our stress levels. We're trying to lower our survival mode, our feelings of survival mode, right? And we're trying to be present with ourselves, with people especially who come from toxic backgrounds and abusive situations. We've kind of learned to self-protect and to become hyper self-aware. So being a sensitive person or an empath actually comes from this hyper awareness, right? This constantly needing to be on our toes, this constantly needing to be aware of the buttons that will push, that will set that person off, right? And to set the time for yourself to be with yourself and to calm the mind is deep healing and deep magic. So meditation is my number 2 tip. My third tip would be to develop safe, secure, and nurturing relationship. First with yourself, obviously, but also learning to be vulnerable with others, right? To let your guard down, to know that it's okay to be you, to be sad, it's okay to be weird. I think it's important to recognize that you can be valued despite what you've gone through, despite how you've been treated in the past, right? Someone can love you regardless. You are worthy of love, and you're worthy of being seen and feeling valued. A really cool technique that I learned, or exercise you could do, is to practice platonic touching, learning to feel safe again in your body and safe around others, like cuddling, and just someone should be able to feel you, right? Someone should be able to see you in your emotional range and to be sensitive and attuned to that. That's a part of healthy attachment. And in doing so, this can help regulate the nervous system and again, reduce feelings of anxiety, reduce feelings of hyper-awareness, and also being comfortable in asking for what you need in relationship can also be really helpful, right? First, identifying what your needs are and then getting your needs met is a really important part of healing and creating secure attachment. Relationships are what make life worth living, you know? Relationships are what fuel the soul. We are relational beings. We need to connect to others. We need to feel a part of the group, maybe not of a group, but we need to feel connected, right? Practicing this mirroring, practicing being vulnerable, practicing letting your guard down and being comfortable is a great way to fill that void that you may feel in your life. My fourth tip is a bit more metaphysical, or can be, it doesn't have to be, but it's connecting to archetypes. So connecting to godlike figures, goddesses, deities, beings, energies, role models that you find here on earth, or just symbols of our higher selves can be great in empowering the self. Connecting to archetypes, people who embody aspects of ourselves that we wish to bring out in ourselves, provide us with a North Star, so to speak, or a guiding light, or a direction in which we want to move into, and gives us access to that power that we have within ourselves to become our greatest selves and our greatest versions of who we want to be. Number 5, I wrote down to seek professional help if you are thinking about harming yourself or harming others. So seeing a psychiatrist or a doctor, I would highly recommend. You know, I've heard success stories of people who have dealt with more modern medicine, so maybe that's a route that you want to consider taking, and know that it's not a quick fix. Know that you're going to probably have to try out a lot of different options, and it may be a long process or it may be a short process, you know. Just be patient with yourself. My next tip would be to take a more naturopathic route. Of course, that's something I would suggest. Herbal remedies, obviously I would suggest body work. I would also suggest crystal healing. Okay, these are the ways in which I've healed myself. These are things that have worked for me personally and continue to work. And then obviously just a healthy diet and physical activity, getting your daily dose of fresh air, right? Just taking a walk around the block, planting your feet into grass is, I think, just a great way to get into a natural rhythm, right? And it's a way that we can connect to nurturing ourselves or reparenting ourselves. Taking care of yourself is a way you can love yourself. You can give everything you need to yourself, really, to an extent. Obviously, I talk about relationship building and seeking external help as well when necessary, because we can't do everything, but we can do a lot for ourselves, and connecting to that feeling that you can support yourself is incredibly powerful. So I also wrote down affirmations, living as if. I found this really beautiful quote along my early mental health journey, and it was live today as if you were perfect. And at the time I was riddled with anxiety, super self-critical, not connected, just super disconnected from my emotions, and was not integrated at all. Living as if I was perfect, it was just a concept that was so foreign to me, and helped me to shed a lot of what I was holding on to, which wasn't serving me anymore. And then writing down who you want to become every day. I am this, I am that, I am powerful, I am willful, I belong here, I deserve good things, I am passionate, I am a good person. And then lastly, I would also suggest just journaling. Creating a journal of how you feel every day can be a great way to gain insight into your inner world, right? It's all about, you know, going within and really pulling out and integrating this inner and outer world, right? Creating a harmony between the two. So journaling can be a great way to do that. Maybe you write down what triggered you that day and how you overcame. What is it that sets you off? What is it that makes you uncomfortable? What is, you know, a great app I would suggest also. Hold on. So if you have an iPhone, this is available on the App Store, and the app is called Mood Kit. You can track your mood from 1 to 10. You can also write down your thoughts, and then there's also like a list of activities, tips on how to implement, ways in which to create more feelings of joy and accomplishment and well-being into your life, which is really, really cool. So I would highly recommend this app. It's been very helpful for me. Yeah. Those are all of my tips. I hope that I triggered you. I hope that I revealed to you your shadow. Hope that maybe I've connected some dots for you. And I hope that the tips that I provided for you are helpful and that you can begin to implement some of these into your life if you haven't already. Let's start a wellness chat in the comments. Let me know your experiences. Let us know your experiences of healing, and if you have any tips for diving into the shadow, leave them down below. Of course, shadow work is active. It's you know, showing up for yourself day by day, and holding yourself, and being there for yourself when you do slip up, when you do fall back into old patterns, old behaviors, old beliefs, and actively just shifting constantly. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next week for another video. I love you. Stay well, stay blessed.